Time Season 3 Episode 7 is titled Goldeneyes, in honor of Lord Perrin Goldeneyes, the wolf brother and reluctant leader who led his people to battle against a horde of Trollocs and Darkfriends, and mostly won. But what exactly were the people of the Two Rivers singing about? Where were Rand and Mat's fathers? What happened to Loial, and why weren't there any wolves? Let's unravel the episode to make sense of it all. This is Unraveling the Pattern. I'm Lauren. This video is mostly safe for non-book readers, but check the description for a full spoiler warning, and don't forget to subscribe to help me get to 50,000 subscribers by the time Season 3 ends. The Two Rivers is a small region east of the Mountains of Mist that's protected by two large rivers to the north and south that flow west and south. There are only two ways in and out of the Two Rivers region. You can cross the River Perrin on a ferry up north at a town called, get this, Perrin Ferry, which we saw in Season 1 as Moraine took the group out of the Two Rivers and destroyed the ferry there. Or you can take your chances entering the region by traveling through the ways and then getting there through the mountains. An old waygate sits in the Mountains of Mist somewhere around here. The Two Rivers is technically part of Andor, the largest nation in the Westlands. Their queen is Morgase, but they don't consider themselves part of Andor as they haven't seen an Andoran tax collector for generations. They simplified this region for the show, but in the books, the Two Rivers actually contains 4 villages, including Perrin Ferry to the north, then Watch Hill, then Emond's Field, where all of the main characters originated, and then to the south, near the White River, is Devon Ride. You might have heard the main characters being called the EF5, or Emond's Field 5. In the books, Emond's Field sits out in the open near the center of the Two Rivers region, with farms and fields all around it, and with the quarry road leading west towards the Mountains of Mist. Tam and Rand al'Thor lived on a farm on the quarry road, just outside of Emond's Field. But in the show, they've simplified the region and put the village right into the quarry, butting right up against the Mountains of Mist. This not only puts the village closer to the Waygate, but it also keeps the village almost completely protected, except for this side, which is where the Trollocs attacked from. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The show's production literally rented a quarry outside of Prague and built the whole village there. I had the privilege of visiting the sets there back in 2023 before Season 2 aired, and I finally got around to posting my video about it recently if you'd like to see the sets in more detail. While this region now only contains simple villagers, tobacco farmers, and shepherds, it once was a great nation called Manetheren, which means mountain home in the Old Tongue.
And this is where Manetheren once stood. One of the greatest cities and armies the world has ever seen.
It was a long time ago. We're farmers and shepherds now.
If you say it.
We've learned quite a bit about the history of the previous age, the Age of Legends, which took place over 3,000 years before the story of the show. But Manetheren existed about 2,000 years ago, in the current age, over 1,000 years after the breaking of the world. 350 years of war, called the Trolloc Wars, took place during this time. The people of Manetheren were some of the Shadow's strongest foes during the Trolloc Wars. Moraine said it better than I can in the first book.
For nearly 2 centuries, the Trolloc Wars had ravaged the length and breadth of the world. And wherever battles raged, the red eagle banner of Manetheren was in the forefront. The men of Manetheren were a thorn to the Dark One's foot, and a bramble to his hand. Sing of Manetheren, that would never bend knee to the Shadow. Sing of Manetheren, the sword that could not be broken.
The people of Manetheren truly had the blood of warriors, as Alana stated earlier this season. Because they were a thorn in the Dark One's foot, the armies of the Shadow made special efforts to wipe Manetheren from the map. The last king of Manetheren was Aemon al'Car al'Thorin. Yes, as Bane pointed out, al'Thorin's name was similar to al'Thor, Rand's surname. It's likely that Tam is a direct descendant of the old king of Manetheren, or that his family took on the al'Thorin name centuries earlier, and it eventually shifted to al'Thor. Did you notice that Egwene al'Vere and Nynaeve Almira also have Al in their names, suggesting they also come from a royal line. Alan Mandragoran too. Anyway, King Aemon's wife, Queen Eldrine, was a very powerful Aes Sedai who remained in the city of Manetheren, while the king and his armies held off the hordes of Trollocs for over 10 days, with no outside aid. The official Wheel of Time companion book says, eventually Aemon and his armies were killed. It was said that Queen Eldrine's heart broke the moment Aemon died. She reached out to the One Power to hunt down the victors and sent balefire to consume the Shadow's army where they stood. That effort required more power than anyone could wield unaided, and she and the city of Manetheren died in flames. The once great nation of Manetheren was no more. The fragments of survivors became farmers and shepherds, and the place where King Aemon died became known as Aemon's Field. Over the centuries, the village name changed to Emmonsfield. So when you hear people talking about the old blood being strong in the two rivers, they're talking about the blood of Manetheren, the blood of warriors who were a thorn in the Dark One's foot. With that in mind, perhaps the lyrics of Weep for Manetheren will now have more meaning. We walk the footsteps of our fathers, the trail blazed by our mothers. They bought the land with their blood long ago. Oh sing, sing of Manetheren. Oh weep, weep for the blood of Aemon. Oh cry, cry for Manetheren long ago. There's something very special about this place, and not just because of its past. The show has leaned pretty heavily into the prophecies of the dragon this season, and we've learned that, according to Aiel prophecy, Rand al'Thor is of the blood, but not raised by the blood, meaning his true parents, or at least one of them, was Aiel. We learned of Rand's father, Janduin, when Rand went through the glass columns in Ruidion and saw through the eyes of his ancestors. But the book version of this prophecy is a bit more complex. It says, he will be of the ancient blood and raised by the old blood. Again, the ancient blood refers to his Aiel heritage, but the old blood specifically speaks to him being raised by descendants of Manetheren. In the Wheel of Time, everything really does happen for a reason. The great nation of Manetheren had to crumble over 2,000 years ago so that it would become a place of refuge and safety to the eventual dragon reborn, to be brought there by Tam al'Thor and raised among sheep and fields of tobacco, with little to no influence or threats from the outside world or the shadow. I really like this YouTube video that shows a simplistic visualization of gravity. The blue represents space, and the objects placed there represent matter. Rand is like this massive object in the center. He's the strongest ta'veren to have ever lived, sort of like a super massive object in the universe that attracts and affects other objects. I guess what I'm saying is Rand is fat. The very threads of the pattern swirl around him, and important people and events are attracted to him. In the current age, the pattern is in need of more help than ever before to counter the shadow and bring balance. And so it seems even as a baby, the Dragon Reborn attracted some very important people to be born in the Two Rivers in preparation for the last battle. Mat, the Hornblower, Perrin Goldeneyes, Nynaeve and Egwene, two of the most powerful channelers the White Tower has seen in 1,000 years. And now Alanna found Mat's sisters and Daze Conger, the new village wisdom who took Nynaeve's place. And it seems they all have the potential to be even stronger than Alanna. Did you notice that when they linked with her, Alanna nearly burned herself out to create the sharpened hail that defeated the first wave of Trollocs and Darkfriends? The show isn't always consistent with one power strength as the books, but in the end scene from season 1, the weakest of the channelers appeared to burn out first. If that's always the case, it does appear that Alanna is likely the weakest of these women, as she appeared to be the only one who was close to being burned out. So Alanna has found people of the Two Rivers she can use in her army to fight the Shadow. But why did the Shadow's army bother with attacking this place at all? When Perrin confronted Padan Fain near the end of this episode, Padan Fain said the Great Lord, meaning the Dark One, wanted to wipe the Two Rivers off the map to make a point to the Dragon Reborn. I can't help but wonder if the Dark One also wants to try and destroy the old blood of Manetheren before they become yet another thorn in his foot. Well, that clearly backfired, and this attempt to wipe them from the map might actually have strengthened them and their resolve to fight the Shadow. What was once the Red Eagle banner of Manetheren has now been replaced by the Wolf Head banner of Perrin Goldeneyes, something Perrin wasn't too excited to see, just like in the books.
I know. You love it.
Though this hasn't been explained fully in the show, Perrin is another powerful ta'veren, not as influential as Rand, but still significant. He rallied the people of the Two Rivers together, and even got some of the traveling people or Tuatha on, and some White Cloaks to join in and help during the battle. But he's extremely reluctant to lead. The people began calling him a lord, and just like in the books, he really didn't like it. Perrin's character in the books is pretty complicated to adapt for TV, because most of his character is driven by internal monologue. I think the show did a pretty good job of showing some of Perrin's inner conflicts in this episode. One of my favorite scenes was almost a blink and you miss it moment, when he looked up at the hammer while he was forging an axe. I couldn't help but hear paragraphs of conflicting inner monologue from Perrin during this quick scene. Later in this episode, Perrin picked up the hammer and dual-wielded hammer and axe as he fought against the Shadow's army. Did you notice that way back in the very first episode of the show, when Perrin fought alongside his wife Layla, that he fought with the axe and she fought with a hammer? This dichotomy is very prevalent in Perrin's story. He is animal and man. He's violence and peace. He is vengeance and justice. Perrin constantly struggles with his dual nature, fighting his wolf-like instincts while also being attracted to the Way of the Leaf, the Tuatha'an's pacifist ideology. Perrin's a bit like the food that was served to Ela and Aram after they arrived. Sure, Mistress Alvir was being a good hostess when she picked out the meat for the Tinkers in an attempt to help them keep their vegetarian lifestyle, but they refused to eat it all the same. Perrin wants peace, but must fight to protect his people. To the Tinkers, especially Ela, he's like the stew with the meaty bits picked out. Good, but not good enough. But she seems to have hope for Perrin, whereas with Aram, she seems more strict. Her face says Aram was brought up in the Way of the Leaf and should know better, but Aram struggles just as Perrin does. Aram's own grandfather was killed by Trollocs the day before, and for what? If they defended themselves, perhaps his grandfather and other of the traveling people would still be alive. Can Aram or Perrin live in both worlds? In a world where pure evil is seeking to kill innocent people, is it even right to stand by and let evil win? The Aiel believe refusal to defend the innocent is one of the most dishonorable things a person can do, but once upon a time the Aiel followed the Way of the Leaf. It wasn't until Luin, one of Rand's ancestors, fought to defend his sisters from bandits that the Aiel of today were even created. Aram had a very similar arc to Luin, as he and the Tinkers agreed to protect the innocent children of the two rivers during the battle, but when it came down to keeping the Way of the Leaf or defending the innocent, Aram chose what is arguably the more honorable path and defended the child. Perrin also chose the path of violence at first, when it was about protecting his people, but in the end he chose justice over vengeance. But I'm getting ahead of myself again. I particularly appreciated how Fail lifted Perrin up in his moments of doubt and insecurity. She told him his wife's death was an honorable sacrifice because she chose to fight. She encouraged him to embrace the violent side to do what was right in defending his people, and when Perrin tried to protect her by sending her away, she saw right through it and determinedly stuck by his side. The wolf and the falcon really are perfect for each other. I really love the sequence after Perrin picked up the hammer and Fael ferociously stabbed the Trollocs that Perrin missed. I also appreciated the moments between Dane and Perrin. Dane Bornhold wants justice for what Perrin did to his father back in Falm at the end of Season 2, but not at the cost of doing what's right and defending the innocent people of the two rivers. Did you notice that Dane was fighting with his father's axe? In the end, he brought his White Cloaks to help in the fight. Unfortunately, he didn't realize until it was too late that Pat and Fane and his group were all Dark Friends who had been hiding the Trolloc army from the White Cloaks. Real quick before I continue, I have a good friend and Wheel of Time content creator, Rob Christensen, the creator of Weekly Wheel News, who's struggling to find a job and needs some community support. He also happens to make awesome Wheel of Time themed merchandise through his wife's website, newcreationsbyjen.com. You might have seen this awesome map that I use in many of my videos. I have 2 beautiful prints of Rob's maps on canvas on my wall in my office. He also makes amazing Wheel of Time t-shirts, mugs, stickers, bookmarks, dice, and more. And I particularly love his Two Rivers themed shirts. The best part is they're offering a 10% discount on all Wheel of Time merchandise purchased by Unraveling the Pattern viewers by using the discount code Unraveling10, and I'm not getting a cent of it. This is all going to help Rob and Jen. So please consider supporting them by going to the link in the description and using the discount code Unraveling10. Okay, back to the video. I appreciated how justice was handled in this episode. Eamon Valda, the White Cloak questioner with extreme methods for burning Aes Sedai like witches, got what he deserved, as the Cawthon girls roasted him alive, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Valda was one of those villains you love to hate. He plays a very different role in the books and is around for much more of the story, but I think the show is hinting that Child Bayar, who was introduced in a previous episode, might be taking on that role in the future. Bane and Chiad got to pay their toll, or obligation, to Loial by defending him as he brought down the Waygate. This was by far the most devastating and controversial moment of this episode for me and for many book fans, as Loial is not just my favorite character, but he's a very important pillar of the story all the way to the end. I don't know fully why the show chose to kill Loial off, and I suppose it is possible that this could be another fake-out death, but unfortunately I really think that Loial is gone for good. I'm guessing there were budgetary and casting considerations. At least Loial left his book behind. Do you think maybe another Ogier will pick up his book where he left off? Did you notice the trefoil leaf design on Loial's hammer and on his clothing, representing the Tree of Life and the Ogier connection with the earth? I'm guessing Loial used tree singing to form the handle of his axe. You also probably noticed that Loial was looking very haggard by the end. They mentioned that Loial was suffering from what's called the longing, a kind of withdrawal that Ogier experience when they're away from their Garden of Eden-like homes in the Steading. I was really hoping to see a Steading in the show at some point, and perhaps we still will, but not likely with Loial. Loial gave his life to break the Waygate, preventing the remaining Trolloc reinforcements from entering and destroying the Two Rivers. I'm not sure, but I think perhaps Loial was tree singing when he hummed Wheat for Manetheren and then broke the bridge and Waygate. Do you think he was tree singing? And if so, do you think that's what aided him in finally being able to destroy the bridge? Also, did you notice that the Hero of the Horn theme music played as he sacrificed himself? This reminds me of this scene from the Season 2 finale.
What of the heroes of today? That is what we are now. We are all the heroes of another age's legend. I think it's time we start acting like it.
It seems like the show version of Loial is certainly a hero of the Horn. Hopefully the Horn will be blown again, and we'll get to see him return at some point in the future, even if it's just temporary. Speaking of the Horn, I appreciated this little moment with Matt's sisters, where they likened it to a sheep's bladder. I know some people have criticized the Horn's design, so I thought this was a fun wink to the audience. This episode raised a lot of questions, like how did Bane and Chiad survive the explosion of the Waygate? Plot armor? Speaking of plot armor, I posted this Elden Ring inspired meme online and got a lot of positive responses from it, including Taylor Napier, the actor who plays Maxim, commenting on it. Alana is like a pincushion this season, seemingly able to take many shots from arrows and live to tell about it, while other characters like Days Conger go down almost immediately. I understand that the show needed to weaken Alana to up the stakes for everyone else, and I also understand that Alana is Green Aja, the battle Aja, and has more experience with battles and war wounds, and I even understand that Alana's bond with Maxim could be strengthening her and giving her extra HP, so to speak, but I still felt this was a bit overdone this season. One thing I'm most curious about related to this, though, is where did these arrows come from? It's interesting to me that literally no other Trollocs came from this side of the village, as they only seem to attack at the front of the village through the gate. But then who shot these arrows at Alana and Days Conger, and why didn't they continue to attack from this point? I have a theory that it might have been Lord Luke. Did you notice that Lord Luke first appeared to be on the side of the people of the Two Rivers, but Perrin almost immediately distrusted him, and then in this episode we saw Lord Luke with the White Cloaks before the battle. Then he seemed to disappear after they entered the village and we never saw him again. What's up with that guy? I'm hopeful he'll be an integral part of Perrin's continued story in the future. For book readers, obviously be wary of spoilers in the comments. One of the biggest questions I've seen about this episode is, where were the wolves? Isn't Perrin supposed to be a wolf brother, and shouldn't the wolves have been a part of the battle? It seems kind of stupid to set all of this up with absolutely no payoff. This actually does have an answer from the books. Without spoiling too much, there's a lot going on here that hasn't yet been explained, which is another reason why reading the books and getting inside of Perrin's head is so important. For example, did you notice in this episode that Perrin smelled Padan Fane's fear? Something that hasn't been explored yet in the show is Perrin's wolf-like sense of smell that goes beyond the physical. He can smell emotions and feelings, giving him another layer of complex inner thoughts as he tries to untangle Fael's and others' actions from how they often completely diverge from their feelings. Anyway, without spoiling too much, throughout the fourth book, Perrin is concerned because when he tries to reach out to wolves in the Two Rivers region, he can't find any. Later, he finds out that someone or something has been hunting and killing wolves on purpose. We actually saw a glimpse of this at the White Cloak camp in a previous episode. Wolf heads were mounted on pikes there. Who do you think could be responsible for this? Similarly, another question is, where were the Fades? Budgetary restrictions aside, there is an in-book explanation for this as well, but it's hard for me to say much without spoilers. Let's just say someone, likely the same person who nailed the Fade to the door in Season 2, is there in the Two Rivers. As for who was commanding the Trollocs with no Fades, Perrin seemed to imply that it was Padan Fane who controlled them. Fane even spoke in the Trolloc tongue as he called them off, which was a cool detail. Another question, where were Tam Althor and Abel Cawthon, Rand's and Matt's fathers? In the books, they were both a very important part of the Battle of the Two Rivers. As a matter of fact, Tam is the one whose place was taken by Maxim, commanding the Two Rivers army to knock and loose arrows from their famous Two Rivers longbows. The show explained that Tam and Abel took Perrin's family away into the Mountains of Mist to keep them safe from the White Cloaks, but again, I'm assuming there were budgetary or casting schedule conflicts. Hopefully we'll see more of them, and hopefully we'll continue to explore all of this in Perrin's Season 4 arc and beyond. One last question, who was Padan Fane working for? He claimed the Dark One himself wanted to send a message to the Dragon Reborn, but we've learned that the Dark One only speaks to his chosen leader of the Forsaken, the Nameless, and that since Ishamael's death, the Dark One hasn't spoken to any of the other Forsaken, at least not as far as we know. In the first two seasons, Padan Fane only seemed loyal to Ishamael. We know that Ravin, Lanfear, and Mogideon have been recruiting or manipulating the Black Aja. Could one of them have commanded Padan Fane as well? Or could Ishamael still be alive? I mentioned in my previous episode breakdown that Liandrin also appears to be working for a secret master. Could she and Padan Fane be working for the same master? The Battle of the Two Rivers is one of the most epic parts parts of the fourth Wheel of Time book, The Shadow Rising. For many obvious reasons like budget restraints and episode time limits, the battle was simplified greatly for the show. If you'd like to know more about the full battle from the books and how it all went down, I'd recommend watching this Two Rivers battle breakdown video that I did in collaboration with another Wheel of Time YouTuber, Nameless. I'd love to do more videos like this in the future, so please remember to subscribe and to consider supporting me on Patreon or here on YouTube as a member so that I can have more freedom to make more deep dive and battle breakdown videos. So the reluctant leader, Lord Perrin Goldeneyes, chose in the end to turn himself into the White Cloaks to face the Light's justice and to end the violence.
Violence never ends until someone says enough.
Perrin might often choose vengeance or violence, especially when it helps others, but he chose justice and peace in the end. Though different from the book version of the story, I'm very excited to see where this plotline goes, as I feel there's still a lot from this book's story arc to explore. I personally think that Perrin proved to be a great leader in the end. He didn't just lead his people to victory by fighting at their sides, he took accountability for his previous actions and will let the Light's justice decide his fate. I personally think this is the exact kind of leader we're so often lacking today. Someone who not only accepts accountability, but is willing to fight alongside the rest of us in the trenches. The Wolfhead banner was tattered in the end, but it still stood tall. All hail Perrin Goldeneyes, Lord of the Two Rivers. Thanks for watching, liking, subscribing, and supporting like these wonderful people. Don't forget to check out the merchandise links in the description, and to use the code Unraveling10 for a good cause. Until next time, let the dragon ride again on the winds of Prime.